Good morning to the world. Welcome to the first of a small series of tier lists that I'll be doing regarding the newly updated companies in Victoria 3. I honestly don't expect many people to agree with my choices, but I will definitely try my best to explain my reasoning as to why every company gets its position on a custom tier list that I have created, replete with custom icons that are fully named. So I do hope you enjoy, but before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank my newest YouTube premium members, Gannon Patton and Sarajevo Shots. You guys are really appreciated. In fact, everybody who has supported me is appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. You guys are truly kings. Anyhow, let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to start off with what is effectively known as a brother company. We have something called Agriculture 1, this right here, which gives you access to rye farms, wheat farms, and maize farms. Now, I call it a brother company because there's actually another company out there called Agriculture 2, which effectively covers almost the exact same types of grains as Agriculture 1. The only difference is you get access to rice instead of wheat, so you're effectively picking between which one that you would prefer, either wheat or rice. Now, Agriculture 1 only gets access to 3 types of grains at that point because of that choice, so it already loses out in terms of viability regarding that, mostly because rice typically ends up becoming a lot more useful than wheat does overall. The only difference is wheat in Europe is a little more abundant, whereas rice is a lot more abundant in Asia, and for that reason, you might see maybe people pick Agriculture 1, but only in very, very selective situations, and by selective situations, I mean they want to probably make use of fine grain, which actually can be used to improve the throughput of their livestock ranches and in, I guess, their food industries, although most people don't really do it for the sake of the food industries. They do it for livestock ranches now. As for the countries that can make full use of livestock ranches, well, that's effectively Argentina, Chile, maybe Japan, Ching, and Russia. Those are the countries that I think of when it comes to making a big play for pushing for livestock ranches. And in the case of Agriculture 1, the only countries that I really think could actually make use of Agriculture 1 as opposed to Agriculture 2 are Argentina, Chile, and Russia. If you're going to go for a livestock ranch throughput bonus, you're going to want to go for Agriculture 2 for Japan and Great Qing, obviously because it gives you access to rice, and rice is a lot more abundant, and it's obviously a little more profitable than the wheat variant anyways, so I would definitely do that in that case. But because of how selectively difficult it is to make full use of this, typically I would only ever suggest somebody pick this company for the sake of just, spamming out as much rye farms, wheat farms, and maize farms as fast as humanly possible with the throughput construction bonus, and from there just delete it after you're effectively done and you're finished depeasanting your population with the huge amounts of construction that you just pumped out from the company construction bonus. That is pretty much the only major use I can see for this outside of the livestock, and that just makes it kind of a weak company in general. And the reason why I say that is because, well, agriculture is really, really fast to build anyways. Every one of these buildings takes like half the time of pretty much every other type of building out there. So it's not something that I would really go out of my way for the construction bonus on. And the livestock ranch throughput bonus is very, very nice, again, for countries like Argentina and Chile, who are effectively aiming for as much meat as humanly possible. But again, you can get that with Agriculture 2, and typically I consider Agriculture 2 just a little bit more useful than Agriculture 1. So in terms of the tier list, obviously you could tell that I'm not big and bullish on this one. If I were to place this one, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give this a D tier. This is what I would call a very weak pick. It could be stronger, and I wish it was stronger, but it's just not strong. Alright, moving on to one that I consider to be slightly better. In fact, I actually do kind of pick this one occasionally depending on the on what I'm intending on doing with it. In particular, Agriculture 2 has a very good use outside of just the livestock that I was talking about. Remember, I was telling you about depeasing. Well, there are 2 countries in particular who could really make use of depeasing, and that is Japan and Qing. They have huge amounts of peasants, and I mean gargantuan amounts of peasants, but they also have a lot, and I do mean a lot of rice and a lot of rye. Particularly Qing, they have a whole bunch of rye up here in Manchuria. They do have some wheat down here in Beijing, but it's not enough to really make taking Agriculture 1 worth it. But oh my goodness, Qing has like nothing but rice down in the south, and it is just gobsmacks amount. Like it's mind-blowing how much rice you actually get access to as Qing, and that makes Agriculture 2 a actually really decent situational pick. But again, it does weaken over time as your peasants start to run out. Even without the peasants running out, it becomes super weak because you're effectively flooding the market with a huge amount of grains, and the price of the grains are just going to continue to go down, and you will never truly make a profit off of Agriculture 2 as a result of that. And isn't the whole point of these companies to make a profit? So again, this is another one of those companies that you're going to want to build super duper early in the game, make as much use as you can to get as many peasants out of the way as possible, and then you're going to want to delete it later for an actually useful and actually profitable company later down the line. That does make it situationally useful for some situations. Again, I'm telling you about depeasing for Great Qing in Japan, so it's not useless. It does have some value, but the value itself is extremely limited in scope. And again, the main purpose of a company is to make money, and I'm sorry, you're just not going to be making money off of Agriculture 2. It is not for the money. It's either for the throughput bonus for your livestock ranches, where you're actually going to make some money, because meat can make a ridiculous amount of money if you play it right. Even in patch 197, you're going to make a ridiculous amount of money. It is really good. And wheat in comparison, grains in comparison, are just not as good. They suffer. I can rarely ever find a situation where wheat is going to be absolutely needed in the world market, and even if it is, every other country can produce it. Every other country has the capability of just mass producing it at whim, because again, don't forget, a lot of these farms, they're very easy to make, and they're so abundant around the world that every country has access to them, whereas livestock, it can be limited. With fish, it can be limited, but wheat and grains just are never limited. So I will give it a situational pick bonus, but I still can't consider it amazing. So Agriculture 2, while better than Agriculture 1, is still just what I would consider to be a weak situational pick, a C tier at best. I cannot call it a strong pick in any situation. It just does not compute at that point. So to all those people out there who actually consider it good for RP, I'm sorry guys, it's just not amazing. It's going to be an RP pick at best. Okay, so we're moving on to one that is extremely limited in scope. This one looks great on paper. We're talking about having access to sulfur, which technically is the most profitable mine in the game. There's just one problem. Like gold mines, how many sulfur mines are out there? And at the same time, how needed is sulfur in comparison to something like, say, lead? You see, lead, I'm always starved for at the end of the game. I'm screaming for as much lead as humanly possible. I want to get as many throughput bonuses on lead as possible. Sulfur? Sulfur, I don't think I've ever had a shortage of. I don't even remember ever having a shortage of. It's just ridiculously easy to get your hands on, and every country pretty much has access to it in some form, and you could just trade for it. Like, you don't even need to have the mines for it. You could literally just trade for it and you're going to get it. And then, unfortunately with the chemical plants, you get fertilizer plants, which are very limited in scope, and you get synthetics plants, which are extremely limited in scope. In fact, I consider synthetic plants to be one of the worst buildings in the game. Giving a bonus to this is just, why? There's literally no value to this one. They might as well not even exist. And fertilizers, I mean, there is some value to fertilizers, but overall, I don't consider this a very good pick at all. There actually is a better way to get your sulfur mines, and this is not it. The chemical company is weak. Even the enriched fertilizer, I mean, it looks amazing on the surface. It gives you a big throughput bonus to literally every single type of agriculture that's out there. But again, I have to ask people, particularly if you watch like the previous two where I was talking about agriculture, how often were you really truly starved for wheat? And how often did the world market just kind of scream for more wheat? So you could literally just make up for it by making a bunch of new a bunch of new wheat and a bunch of new rice plants, and they don't take very long to make in the first place, so the throughput bonus doesn't really come out as huge as you would prefer. And don't forget, the main benefit to making farms isn't just the food, it's the fact that you can use it to depeasant, so you actually don't want a huge amount of throughput bonuses on there, because that means overall you're driving the price down when you would prefer more buildings for more jobs to do more depeasanting. So it's actually counterintuitive overall. So when I look at the chemical company, I just see a very counterintuitive company. I consider it weak. I consider it extremely weak. It's almost F-tier weak. I'm going to be a little generous here, and I'm going to put it right here in the D tier, though. I would like to give it a worse rating, but it does have some use, particularly for the sulfur mines. So I'm going to just call it a weak pick. I'm not going to call it an outright bad pick. It's just a weak pick. Alright, so we're moving on to one that I actually do consider to be somewhat good, and the reason why I say somewhat good is because there are situations where it's not as useful as you would prefer it to be. Obviously, I'm talking about Colonial 1. The Colonial Plantations ones will give you access to opium plantations, and at the same time, they'll give you access to tea plantations, but more than that, it gives you access to pure opium. Now, if you're a country that has a huge amount of population that is completely addicted to opium, we're talking like Persia, maybe Great Qing, maybe even Dainam, Siam, Burma, pretty much any of the Indochina and Asian and I guess Middle Eastern countries out there, or Western Asian countries, Southwestern. We're talking maybe even S tier at that point. The only problem is British, like say you're playing Great Britain, I mean you do still get access to opium plantations, but it's going to be through your colonies, your dominion, the Dominion of India, or whatever it's going to call it, the Raj, or whatever you want to call it, the British East India Company. And then this doesn't really help you a whole heck of a lot. I mean, you can definitely make it super duper useful by giving it trade rights, and then they'll put the company in your colony for you, and then it becomes exceptional. And at that point, yeah, it's still a powerful company, and it's hard to really argue with the fact that it is powerful. It's so powerful that I think that it is actually underrated by a lot of people. They don't see just how ridiculously profitable that this company can get really quickly, especially with pure opium out there. If you're a country out there who is out there protectorating big countries like Persia, Dainam, and maybe even breaking apart Qing to make Yunnan or Yue, and then you just you protectorate them as well, yeah, you pretty much want this company every single time. This company is a money maker upon all money makers. The only reason I don't give it an S tier is because, again, not every country can truly make use of it. It's not what I would consider meta, it's what I would consider strong. And again, if you're playing Germany, for instance, like I got this goofy looking Germany here, this cursed little Portugal here, this has been a wacky game, so just try to ignore that aspect of it. But again, you say you're playing Germany right now, and you're not even bothering with protectorating anybody, you're never going to pick this. This doesn't even cross your mind. And again, it's not a situational pick for that purpose, but I do consider it to be one that cannot be considered meta because not everybody's going to pick it. So again, if you're playing Great Britain, yeah, you're pretty much going to pick this every single time. You'd be crazy not to. If you're gonna hold on to India and you don't pick this, I call you crazy. You're leaving money on the table. You're playing Qing and you don't pick this. Yeah, you're leaving money on the table. Even if you're playing Dainam and you don't pick this and you don't conquer Yunnan and Sichuan, yeah, I consider you crazy. Persia, if you're not picking this, I consider you crazy. This is a very, very powerful pick, and I think it gets slept on a lot. And I think it's just because people don't like the idea. Oh well, then my people are going to be addicted to opium, and then we got all this issues as a result of it. And you know what? You got a point there, but at the same time, some countries already start off like that, and some countries benefit from it anyways. And there you go. That's my reasoning for it. I consider it like a very, very powerful pick, and I'm going to give it an A tier. This is my first A tier pick, and I think it's well worth it. I think it deserves to belong. It belongs there. It's more powerful than people think it is. Alright, moving on to the brother company of Colonial 1, Colonial 2. Once again, we find ourselves in a situation where people probably sleep on this one a little more than they probably should. This is a moneymaker. This one is almost as strong as the British East India Company out there. And say you lose the British East India Company and you're kind of stuck, you're probably going to want to take Colonial 1 and Colonial 2. It's pretty much that simple. If you're playing as Great Qing, there's a chance you might even want to take Colonial 2, and the reason why is because you also get access to tea on top of your tobacco and your sugar, which is very, 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 very useful. But here's the real catch for Colonial 2. I'd say the country that benefits the most from Colonial 2 is Brazil. Brazil pretty much must get Colonial 2. This is a must pick for Brazil. Every other country, it's optional. This is just a money maker for every other country. This one is pretty much a meta pick for Brazil. Mostly because Brazil benefits in a lot of ways. In fact, there's a journal entry where this will truly, truly make it very, very, very easy for Brazil to meet their journal necessities. And at the same time, this prestige good reserve coffee, this is a rarity in the game. This is what is known as a prestige drink. There really is only, I think there's only 2 or 3 prestige drinks in the entire game. And like there's the champagnes and then there's coffee. That's it. That is not a lot of prestige drinks out there, and it is really, really easy to get your prestige good because almost nobody else in the game is going to effectively beeline for coffee plantations. I think the reason why is because it doesn't seem like there is a huge amount of demand in the world for coffee, but there is some demand in the world for coffee, and it's not a useless product at all. Especially if you get the prestige good. Believe it or not, by getting the prestige good, you increase the amount of demand out there, and more people are going to want it overall. And that makes this company even better than what you would probably think as a result of that. Again, this is one that is kind of situational though. Unlike the previous one where like a good 50% of the countries in the game are going to be able to make use of it, this one is not as universal. Again, it's not a meta pick. It's not super duper strong. It is strong though. It will make you a boatload of money. I mean, tea and coffee alone will make you a lot of money, especially if you're playing a country like Great Britain and you lost the British East India Company for whatever reason. It can happen. It can happen. I've seen it happen in many, many games where you lose the British East India Company. This is a pretty good replacement for it, the BEIC. And if you're playing another country that is hyper-colonial, say you're playing France and you're just not really in the mood to conquer people, instead you're just going to protectorate everybody in South America, get your mandate score up, maybe I'll break apart Qing and then do a little bit of mandate score off of them by protectorating Yue and Yunnan and Manchuria, or you break Japan in half and then protectorate its lower half while you keep its upper half. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of use out of this. So this is not a bad company by any measure. I consider this a very good company. And I don't know if it's controversial or anything. I wouldn't consider it controversial personally. But maybe somebody would. Let me just get that up real quick. Boom, and bring that over. Beautiful. I'm going to call this one a B tier. This is a strong situational pick. It's not a bad pick by any measure. I like this pick. I've taken it in a few of my games as a result, particularly my Brazil game, so don't sleep on it. Okay, so moving on to construction. This one is what most people would consider to be relatively universal, particularly because it does cover tools, it covers steel, it covers glass, and it covers lead. Now, lead is one that is pretty much always not enough in the game for generally when you get to about 20,000 construction at the end of the game, you're just screaming for lead, you're screaming for iron, you're screaming for coal. Everything else is in abundance, but those three particular are just non-existent. So it is a good company by any measure, especially with that lovely 20% construction throughput bonus. I used to consider this to be top tier. I would even consider this to be top 3 back in like 1.8 and earlier, simply because a lot of other companies, which I consider good now, just weren't as good back then. So you're probably going to be seeing this one as a little controversial. I did kind of change my mind on this company a little bit compared to the way that it was. And the reason why is because of the massive amount of overlap with other amazing companies out there. Don't forget, we have Metalworks now, which gives you access to precision tools, which gives you another throughput bonus on top of things, and you can actually get up to almost a 20% construction sector throughput bonus just from the prestige steel and prestige tools alone. It's kind of wild how the meta slowly changes, which is some minor additions to the game, and I just don't consider the construction to be worth the 3 mandate picks anymore. Like, I do like the mandate picks, make no mistake, I love the mandate picks, but there are so many other good mandate picks, and construction is great if you have no extra mandate picks to pick. If you've already got your company mandate pick, and you've already got maybe advanced research as your secondary mandate pick, you could probably just pick construction, and then you could go for this, no problem, no hurt, you're not going to be hurting here. It's a great company, and construction is a great pick. It's just I consider it to be more of the base pick. This is like picking the fighter class in Dungeons and Dragons. It's not super specialized to anything, it's just kind of generally useful overall. And for that reason and that reason alone, I don't really consider it meta anymore. It used to be like, oh, you had to pick this, otherwise you're going to suffer. But again, I don't consider this to be a must pick anymore. I would rather have prestige steel and prestige tools. And don't forget, by taking prestige steel and prestige tools, you're probably going to have all of this except for glass covered anyways. So it overlaps too much. This is kind of like if you only want to pick like 2 companies and you want to get your construction cycle completely covered, this is a great pick for taking over probably 50% of your construction companies, whereas going for the prestige, you're going to need 3 companies to cover everything. So with this one in cohorts with, say, metal mining, yeah, you're pretty much going to have everything covered. But you're not going to have any of the prestige goods, and I really like a lot of the prestige goods. Prestige steel is like a must pick for me nowadays. And don't forget, by going for this, you're probably not going to be picking the basic steel company, which gives you that lovely plus 5% construction construction throughput, or not throughput, construction efficiency. And I consider efficiency to be more valuable than throughput, to be honest. I mean, they're both effectively free, but one is more free than the other. One is more valuable to me than the other. I would, especially when you get throughput bonus from the steel anyways. So, yeah, this used to be super duper S tier for me. This was like my number 1 S tier. Now, here we go. This is going to get me bitched out quite a bit. Let me just bring that up real quick. Constructione and A tier. Yep, it's no longer an S tier to me. It is A tier company. It is a very strong pick. If you're going for 2 companies to cover your entire construction cycle, this is the fantastic pick. This might even be considered a meta pick at that point. In cohorts with metal mining, yeah, you're gonna love this pick. But you get no prestige goods if you go this way, and I hate that idea. I love prestige goods. I think they're slept on too. I don't know why people sleep on them. I know that prestige tools are not super duper useful, but prestige steel is just upper tier godlike. I love prestige steel too much to ever give it up. So unfortunately, that means construction has been bumped down from S tier to A tier for me. Alright, so we're moving on to one that I don't think is going to be controversial at all. In fact, this might actually be the worst company in the game, without a question. I can think of really bad companies out there, but none of them are nearly as bad as the electric company. The electric company is just awful. How else can I put it? It's just awful. Number one, it is an extremely late game company. You pretty much have to have the telephone technology to even get it. And by that point, you're pretty much going to have almost all of your companies already picked out anyways. You're going to have your entire cycle set up for your construction companies. You're going to have your excess companies, the money makers, the really good money makers. And this one is not a good money maker. Electrics industries are useful, but they're not money makers. They're not hugely useful. You're not going to need thousands of them like you would with, say, steel. Like, I can't think of any use for that. At the same time, the extras out here, like the rubber plantations, the iron mines, they're covered by better companies. You get iron pretty much in every great company in the game. Rubber's covered by the Forestry company. What the hell are you going to need it for this for? And at the same time, if you're playing as a large scale country, it's going to be a colonial pick at that point. So rubber plantation just doesn't really have that much use outside of the colonies, unless you're playing like South America or South Africa. Just even then, why wouldn't you just take forestry at that point? There's too much overlap with way better companies, and the only really useful one is electrics industry, and that's not useful. The throughput bonus for power plants, again, not useful. Power plants nowadays are super duper quick to build. There's literally no value to having the throughput bonus on them. This is garbage. This is, without a doubt, in my mind, quite possibly the worst company in the game. Even worse than Shipyards. Okay, I'm going out on a limb here to say that, but I truly do believe this from the bottom of my heart. I hate this company. This company is garbage. I don't think I've ever picked it outside of once, and I was so underwhelmed by the amount of profit that I got. It was a whopping 13,000 profit after, what, 20 years of activity? What a joke. What an absolute joke. I cannot stress this enough. Do not ever pick this company. This company needs a massive, massive boost, okay? If I were to boost this, if I were to convince Paradox to make this a better company, I would do something absolutely wild. I would make a prestige radio, and the reason why is because it would make a lot of armies out there, like siege artillery. It would make your squad infantry way better. It'd make your mechanized infantry and stuff way better. And even then, that's not enough. You would need another company in here. You need you need power plants in here. And you would need a third building in here, in fact, to even make this viable. So not only would you have to put power plants in here, you probably have to put coal in here as well. And then you could still have to pick these extra ones just to make it viable. And even then, it would still only be a D or C tier, a situational pick, if you haven't already got everything covered. So maybe change up the throughput bonus as well. Instead of a stupid 10% throughput bonus on here, why not plus 10% for every siege artillery, plus 10% damage bonus to siege artillery, so that at least now it's a situational pick for somebody who's wanting to do like massive amounts of conquest in the late game before they end up with mobile infantry, mechanized infantry. Sorry. So yeah, this is garbage, and it really badly needs a rework or just removal. Like, this is a beginner's trap. If you think this is good, you're in danger. Again, I gave this one a fair chance, and all I got out of it was 13,000 profit when like other companies in my country were doing 1.5 mil. So this is a joke of a company. I only tried it once just to test it out. It just vehemently failed in every imaginable manner, and it needs a boost badly. Alright, after that little bout of negativity, we're finally back onto companies that I consider to be pretty darn good. Here is the Basic Fabric Company. I rather enjoy this company. Not only does it cover a relatively early game building material, which is cotton plantations, but it does the absolutely wonderful livestock ranches. I still love meat, even after its recent nerf. It is still a very, very good product, especially if you get prime meat going and you don't have a flavor company that will give you a better version of the prime meat, like the river beef one, the river plate beef one. Again, Basic Fabric Company is really, really good. There are way better flavored companies out there, but if you can't get your hands on the flavor company, you still can't go wrong with the Basic Fabric Company. And the reason why is because then you could put textile mills in there without having to pick the Textiles company or any of the other flavor companies that go through textiles, because typically those really aren't that worth it. On top of that, the Fabric Company makes textile mills more profitable with higher throughput. Everything about this company just seems to have a great synergy. Everything about this company just seems to be relatively strong. I know cotton plantations lose their power after the early game, especially after you're off of the early game construction cycle, where you're no longer even using fabric in that cycle. But again, cotton fabrics, they always have use, specifically in textile mills. You're rarely ever going to run into a situation where fabric is not useful, especially once you get to automotives, and once you start putting automobiles out there, you're going to use up a buttload of fabric at that point, and I can't sing its praises enough. Everything about this company is really, really good. It is really, really powerful in the right hands. The thing is, though, and here's the catch. This is what's probably going to be a little controversial, is there are better flavored companies out there. There are, excluding the textiles, I consider the textiles to be a little bit worse depending on where you are. There are some way better textile ones, especially ones that cover silk on top of cotton and textiles. But if you can't get access to those, this is probably better than a lot of the other textile ones that just give you like textile and then maybe cotton or maybe silk on top of that. And at least this one will give you beef and textiles put together. But if you can, in two companies, get river plate beef and then you get like the specialized Como silk or something, that's probably way better than just going the Basic Fabric Company. So here we go. This is where I would say it's controversial. I call this more of a situational pick than a real meta pick. So for that reason, I'm going to call this one a strong situational pick. It is very, very strong. Do not get this, do not consider this to me being insulting to it. This is a very strong pick. You cannot go wrong with this pick. It is strong. And here's the catch. Getting your prime meat, getting prime meat is really, really easy, because again, for some reason, when it comes to like the agricultural prestige goods, the AI does a really bad job of getting it themselves. So you're not really going to have a lot of competition there. You're pretty much going to get a top 3 without even trying when it comes to getting prime meat or river plate beef or any of the beef versions. So again, super strong pick as a result of that, and well worth picking up. I was waiting for this one. This is the one where I finally get to tell everybody else out there, I told you so. I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Remember when I did a top 5 best basic companies video, and I had the gall, the wherewithal, the rudeness to say that the food company belonged in number 2 slot? Yeah, who's laughing now, people? This is meta. This isn't just meta, this is in every multiplayer game now. People are just now waking up to the fact that birth rate is the best modifier in the game. There is no better modifier. It's better than construction state efficiency, it's better than construction throughput, it's better than throughput generalized, better than company throughput, okay? It's the best. And on top of that, because it's still the best, and they finally boosted groceries to actually being viable now as a food source, yeah, this isn't just number 2 pick anymore. This might actually be number 1. I'm actually going out on a limb here to say that I think the food company is the most important company in the game, and you're going to want to pick this as number 1. This is your number 1 pick every single game. You're going to want to put it down 5 food companies in every single game. You're going to want to pick this every single game. Somebody on Reddit actually went through a very, very, very detailed walkthrough on why food industries is so powerful, and I am 100% in agreement with it. I'm going to say for verbatim what this gentleman said. He said, say you're France at the start with 35 million population. With the birth rate it starts at around 1.3%. You will have 66 million populations after 50 years. You get this company and its prosperity bonus. It adds around 0.3% to the birth rate, which translates to having 76 million populations after 50 years. He's 100% right. This gentleman, what's his name? A. Sadler on Reddit. You are 100% right, and I give you flowers, man. You are so correct, it's not even funny. This is such a good bonus that it is unfathomable to me that anybody would even try to argue this fact. It was a great bonus in 1.8, but now that groceries are better, now that food industries are actually profitable, there's no competition. This is the best company in the game. This doesn't just deserve S tier. This deserves SSS tier. This deserves God tier. This is a must pick in every game. This is the ultimate meta pick. And if you don't think so, I'm sorry. I disagree with you. I just fully, vehemently disagree with you. I cannot disagree with you enough. And for this reason, food industry gets the very first S tier pick. In fact, I'm very glad that it got the first S tier pick, because now look at that, it's literally in the furthest top left corner, which means that is by far the best of the best of the best. Maybe I should actually organize these based off of which ones I consider better, but I don't really want to do that because that just causes arguments. So I'd rather just keep it based off of the tiers. But food deserves S tier. It is the best in the game. And don't forget, and I actually forgot to talk about this. Gourmet groceries is amazing. This is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful prestige good. It increases your standard of living by so much. It is counterintuitive towards the birth rate once you're past 15 standard of living, but by increasing your standard of living, you're making your entire country just a little bit more profitable. You want standard of living overall, even if it does reduce the birth rate slightly after 15. It does feel counterintuitive, but it's still really, really good. There is no synergy there, but it's really good on its own. Everything about this is just really, really good on its own. Not to mention, if you get this prestige good, your groceries become the hottest ticket in the world. You're gonna make so much profit off of this company that it boggles my mind that people wouldn't even consider this. Like, I've seen people just say, well, it's a terrible company because you only get two buildings. Yeah, well, one of those buildings is meat. Okay, if you're not going for prestige meat, you should 100% be going for this. Okay, and if you're playing a country like Qing in Japan, you're going to be taking Agriculture 2 and not Agriculture 1, which means your secondary should be wheat. You're covering wheat with this company. So again, that makes Agriculture 1 even weaker as a result. It makes Agriculture 2 even better as a result. And this is just, it's a must pick. It's a meta. That's all there is to say about it. Must pick. Must pick. Let me go back to the other screen here. There you go. Must pick. It deserves to be S tier. Alright, moving on to another wonderful pick. This one I actually don't consider a must pick anymore. I know a lot of people might yell at me for saying that, particularly if they're playing as a smaller country, and the reason why is because when you're playing a smaller country, you're pretty much going to need the bonus from the infrastructure. I just don't consider it to be a huge amount of infrastructure overall, and there are other ways to get your infrastructure done for most countries, unless you're playing like an extremely backwards country like say Buganda in that case. But even then, you're not going to be able to make use of the company anyways, because you won't even be able to get company charters before you're going to get railways. So you're better off just beelining for railways as a backward country like Buganda or Marina Kingdom. And again, that just it lowers the value of forestry. This is a nice bonus to have, but forestry has issues with overlap with a lot of other really good companies out there. In particular, I would say Metalworks. I consider Metalworks to be a must pick at this point in the game. I love Metalworks, and unfortunately that means that you're only going to have logging and rubber for your forestry, which by no means is a bad, set of companies to have. But especially if you're like a country like, say, Great Britain, and you have a huge amount of colonial holdings in countries that have a lot of rubber. If you're playing a highly powerful country like, say, Austria, and you go into South America and protectorate the entire continent, well, yeah, forestry is probably going to be a must pick for you just because you want to get all of the rubber bonuses that you can. Just make sure to give investment rights to your forestry company so that it can actually go to your colonies. So no, this is not a bad company by any measure. Don't assume that I'm calling this a bad company just because I'm not saying that it's top 3 or top 5. It's top 10. I would even say it's probably the 6th best company in the game. Maybe 7th? I don't know. It's definitely up there. It's not a bad company. It's a great company, especially in the early game. In fact, this is probably what I would lovingly call a company that is great for the early game that you can, cancel later on. Because wood stops being profitable after a certain point, and then it becomes exceptionally profitable by the end game. But in the mid game, when you really need those company profits to prop up your economy, it loses its power, and you're kind of relying on the rubber plantations to make up the money shortfall. So you're not going to be super duper hyper profitable as the forestry company in the mid game when the company profits really truly matter. But again, if you hold on to it until the end game, wood becomes super duper scarce. Wood is one of those resources that you're pretty much just going to be screaming for when you're at like 20,000 construction. You're going to need wood, you're going to need coal, you're going to need iron, you're really going to need lead. Oh my god, lead is crazy how bad there's not enough lead in this game. There just isn't. They need to double the amount of lead in this game. Oil is another big one that you're going to need a lot of too, and rubber is going to be a big one, and that's good that you're covering rubber with this company. So yeah, the only time that this company isn't S tier is in the mid game when it matters the most. So for that reason alone, I would actually suggest people take it as a super early game, maybe your second company after the food company, or you could take it as your first company if you're willing to give up the birth rate bonus. But again, it's a good company to take super duper early, and at that point, yeah, you can make full use of it. You can always just cancel it later, and you get all the buildings done at that point. So, especially if you're not going to be protectorating all of South America or South Africa or Indonesia where all the rubber is built anyways. So, if you're not going to have a huge amount of rubber, then the company loses its value in the mid-game and the late game, and then it's only useful for wood, which you can get in other methods anyways. There's other ways to get wood, there's other ways to get tooling, and a lot of better companies out there will give you both. So yeah, I would, wood you could probably get in the paper company, and tooling obviously is in the Metalworks, and I consider both of those S tiers at this point. And you're probably going to yell at me for the paper one, but just wait. You'll see why I give paper such a big bonus now. And yeah, unfortunately, forestry is not a meta pick for me, so here we go. Here's where I'm going to get yelled at. This is the first one that people are going to yell at me for. It is just an A tier. Just a lowly, everyday A tier. I know, I'm a awful person for saying that, but that's just how I feel. Okay, moving on from fantastic companies to ones that I consider to be not that good. The first one obviously is fishing. I like the fishing buildings. Fishing wharves are pièce de résistance. They're absolutely a fantastic way, especially for like depositing in certain countries. I love fishing. Fishing is good. Having excess fish is always a good thing to have because fish is pretty much always in demand. So yeah, you are going to make a little bit of money if you take this company. There's just one tiny problem. The only useful thing is fish. That's it. Whaling is worthless. I'm sorry, whaling is one of the, I would say probably the second worst building, maybe third worst building in the game. Yeah, whaling is just not useful, and the oil that you get from whaling isn't useful. It's a bad building overall. It doesn't give you enough meat to make up for it. In fact, they should probably quintuple the amount of meat you get from whaling stations, and then maybe it would actually be considered a good building. But unfortunately, in its current state, no, it's not a good building. And then there's shipyards. Who really? Okay, number one, you're gonna get shipyards pretty much automatically, anyways, by taking like the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal. And shipyards as a building is not particularly profitable, and most of the times you're gonna forget that it even exists. So that's pretty garbage, I'm not gonna say. So again, fishing wharves are it. That's it. You only get one building for this corporation, and that is bad. And then, look at these bonuses. These bonuses suck. Okay, shipyard building throughput for a building that I just said that you're probably gonna forget about. Whoop-de-doo. And then 10% convoys in a game. Like in 1.9, convoys went from the most important thing to have to who cares? Like I don't think I've ever been stretched thin on convoys, and even if I was stretched thin on convoys, you have unlimited ports. You're not capped on ports anymore. You can build a bajillion ports, and you've just made up all your convoys at that point. Yeah, it's going to cost you a mint to do that, to keep everything subsidized, but who gives a crap if you need convoys that badly? You're probably making it back off of the trade that you're doing with the convoys anyways. Or you probably got so much money that your military is so large that you need it for the supply routes. So convoy bonuses are bad. They're not useful anymore. They're bad. The prestige good? Pretty darn good, actually. I like this prestige good. It's a really good prestige good. It's on par with groceries. If you're not going to go for the food company and you pick this one, you're okay. You're okay. This is good. This is a really good one to have. It's just one problem. It does double up with the food company, and I would rather have the food company any day of the week. So, I mean, again, it's not bad. It's actually a really good prestige good, but does it make up for a failing, ailing company? And when I say failing and ailing, I do mean it. Everything else about it is just bad. The only value is the fishing wharves and the select fish. And there are better flavored versions out there anyways, so why would you ever pick this one over those ones? And those ones are actually relatively easy to get with easy conquests. So, again, this one just does not compute. It does not have a huge amount of value. I'm not going to insult it, but it doesn't deserve anything other than a weak pick. It's a weak pick. I'm sorry, guys. This one is weak. It's not bad like Electrics, but it's not good. Okay, moving on to another particularly bad company now. This one is, this one gets up in the air either way. I have no idea why people consider this one to be, like, the worst company in the game. I don't think it is. But then there's people out there who say it's one of the best companies in the game, and that doesn't make sense to me either. This is the Gold Corporation, the basic gold company. What do I say about the basic gold company? The only really useful building to it is the lead mines, and you could get lead mines in far better companies. But there is one thing about it that really makes people kind of jump out of their seat, and that is access to plus 5% minting bonus, which does in fact make you a heck of a lot more money. So if you're playing a country out there and you've done nothing but conquer Transvaal, Aranya, you got Santiago over in Chile, you got Antagonista or whatever it's called in Bolivia, you got North Jilin and Heilongjiang in China, you got Hokkaido, you got all of eastern Siberia from Russia. At that point, maybe, just maybe, that minting is really going to be useful to you, and yeah, at that point, you could probably take it for the early game. I'm going to say early game. In the early game when money like that really, truly does make a difference. However, there's only so many gold mines in the game, and even if you conquered every single state that makes gold, you're going to run out of bonus for gold, which means this right here, the primary pick, the primary reason to take the company in the first place is worthless. You're going to run out, and here's the thing, if the private sector melts it, you're not getting the dividends from it, and generally, you kind of want the dividends off of this one, too. I mean, it's guaranteed profit. You know it's going to be guaranteed profit. So I can't really see a huge amount of demand for this company. I can't see a huge amount of use for it. The other bonus, the loyalists from political movements, is pretty decent. Again, having access to lead is pretty decent. But this is a company that I would only suggest people to build in the super duper early game. And then once money is no longer an immediate factor, whether or not you survive or die, and your minting is no longer, the number one reason that you're surviving, and instead you're off on like graduated taxation or proportional taxation, and what matters more is the value of the company than the value of the minting. Yeah, dump this. And you won't even feel bad about breaking this one up because you're not going to have enough buildings to really even matter. So, I mean, I can't see this one becoming more profitable than 15,000, 20,000 anyways, even in the best case scenario. So, this company is bad. It used to be a lot more powerful when you were guaranteed gold in Transvaal and Oranje, like back in 1.8, early 1.8. And now, there's so many better choices out there. This one gets a thumbs down from me. So here we go. Where is it? Gold. Now, I love gold, but I do not love it here. Unfortunate but true. Where is it? There's gold. Gold gets a D tier. It's lucky it doesn't get an F tier. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. It's lucky it does not get an F tier. Okay, from the bottom of the barrel, we go back to a really set of good companies. The first of which is going to be the Home Good Combine, the Home Good companies. My goodness, do I love this company, because you see, I rarely take Forestry anymore, and in place of Forestry, I have a tendency to take either the logging camps here if I don't take the paper mills, or if I don't take metal mining, I go for lead. This company pretty much makes up for all of the holes in the companies that you haven't taken already. And on top of filling in a bunch of holes for, say, your construction cycle, because again, not everybody's going to take metal mining and United Construction to cover everything in the construction cycle. And even then, you still haven't got wood covered now, do you? So, which means you're still going to have to take either Forestry or, in this case, Home Good. Home Good just fills holes. This is generally one of the later companies I pick. I probably should pick it earlier to get the biggest bonus from the throughput bonus for glassworks and furniture. Most people tell me you should probably take this as your third or fourth company, just so you get the most bonuses when you switch to steel construction, and then you can get your glassworks bonuses from that. And I agree with them. That is a fantastic way to make use of this company. This is a great company to take for that purpose. The bonus that you get from it is decent. Loyalist from political movements is always good. But what really sets it apart is its prestige good. This is one of the prestige goods that does work with other prestige goods. So it actually does help increase your standard of living by quite a bit. And on top of that, it makes you capable of trading furniture in a landscape where you typically won't be able to trade furniture. You're going to run into trade advantage issues with furniture, especially in the mid-game when everybody else is getting their furniture manufactories up. But with the prestige good, you get a trade advantage for your exports, which means that you're going to be able to trade a heck of a lot more as a result of having this prestige good. So this is not a bad prestige good by any measure. This is kind of one that you kind of want. So this whole company is just really good. The only reason I'm not going to call this meta is because it can be replaced. There are other ways that you can deal with it. And on top of it, there are so many flavored companies out there that do this. and give you the same prestige kind of good, that this one gets overshadowed quite easily. And some of those prestige good companies, or sorry, some of those other flavor companies out there, they actually have better choices. Like one of them will give you coal, which is a really good choice. Another one will actually have lead already as a base, and then there's one that's it replaces glass with lead, and there's so many choices out there for furniture that this one gets overshadowed, so it's not a meta pick by any measure. So I'm going to say, in this case, it is definitely worth looking over. If you can't get a better flavored version of it, definitely take this one. But because there's so many flavor versions out there that are better, I'm gonna call this one an A tier. Alright, we're finally getting to ones that I'm excited to talk about. Here is one of my absolute favorite companies in the game. I think I gave this a sterling review in the top 5 that I did, probably before the release of 1.9, and it still gets a sterling review from me. I love this company. I almost universally take it as either my second or third pick, and the reason why is because generally by the time you get your second or third pick, you're going to need a buttload of iron and coal, and this one covers both, and it's easier and earlier to get than the other companies out there that will give you access to iron or coal. And I mean, unless you're playing Spain and unless you already own like Asturias or Navarra, you're not going to have many flavor companies that replace it. So this ends up becoming what I lovingly call a meta pick, and it is just super good. This is not a meta pick because, you're going to take it in the early game and then you're going to cancel it later on. No, this one's going to stay profitable throughout the entire game. You're always going to have profitable lead mines. You're always going to have profitable coal mines. Those two are pretty much always going to be scarce throughout the entire game. Iron mines by the mid game do lose their profitability, but it just zooms right back in at the late game. Once you're doing like 10,000, 20,000 construction, you're going to be screaming for all three of these. And the throughput bonus to all three of these, gorgeous. Now, you can replace it with other companies, but this is the only one that covers all three of them at once. It's just that simple. And you can work around this company very easily. You can even just take off coal and then put coal on another company and just have the two baseline ones, and it'll still be profitable at the end game. This company has no downsides. You even get a little bit of a bonus from steel mills to the throughput. Actually, no, I'm not going to say it doesn't have any downsides. The one downside that this company has is that it doesn't have a prestige good. I kind of wish it had steel as a prestige good. Maybe you could make an argument that this is not meta simply because it doesn't give you prestige steel, and you would probably be better off taking prestige steel and then, filling in the back order with like putting iron on your metalworks instead of steel on your metalworks, which is actually very fair. But this is still a top tier pick, even if you're just going to delete it later on, which is something that you can do. Say you pick this as your second pick in the super duper early game. You got your company charters done, you got your joint stock ventures done, and which are very easy to get done, relatively quick and relatively close to each other. So yeah, this is a good one to take as a second pick. And then mid game, iron stops being super profitable, and you're like, well, I kind of want to switch off to Metalworks and I want to do steel at that point. You can delete this company, but it's still a must pick in the early game, even if you're deleting it later. That's how important this company is. This is a must pick. I consider this my must second pick in every game. I don't even think about it. It always goes in order of food, and then metalworks, then metal. And then after metal mining, I would be like, well, do I want to swap off of metal mining to metalworks? And then, yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll go tools and iron, and then for the steel mill, I'll go steel and coal. And then with lead, I'll have to fill in with maybe like home goods, and because home goods, you can pick lead off of that. So those are just three basic companies right there that can make up for it. But it takes three companies to make up for it, doesn't it? Obviously, the only reason you would swap off it is so you can get the prestige goods from the other companies. So, again, this is a really good company to have. This is a fan-flippin-tastic company. And yeah, for me, it's a must second pick in every game, even if I delete it later. And yeah, people will be, oh my god, you're giving up all that profitability. Well, again, iron does lose its profitability in the mid game, so you might actually be struggling to even maintain the prestige bonus at that point. And I mean, there are other companies out there that do give you great prestige goods, like precision tools and obviously the steel. So you can make that switch later. But again, you're still going to want it in the early game anyways. So to me, this is a meta pick. There's no question in my mind. Metal belongs in S tier. Whether you keep it or delete it later, that is an S tier. Okay, going from one S tier to another S tier. In fact, one that I literally just talked about, that would be the Metalworks. This one is mwah. I love it. I have a nasty habit of doing exactly what I was telling people to do before. Taking metal mining at the early game, getting all of the bonuses for iron and lead built up, get all your construction throughput bonuses, your construction bonuses, everything, etc., etc. And if I do decide to go for precision tools and the specialty steel, well then, just delete this and start this one up. Get your British Metalworks. Get your Metalworks. It is absolutely fantastic. It covers tools, which is exceptionally necessary, especially in the early to mid game, or even the mid game when you're doing your construction cycle and you're really starting to go up from like 200 construction up to 1,000 overnight. So yeah, those tools really do come in handy at that point, and it still covers iron. Now, I'm not happy about the steel. I would not suggest putting steel on as your secondary. Iron is much better to have as your secondary because steel can be covered in pretty much every steel specialty prestige good that you can get out there, and you're going to want a wombo combo. You want both precision tools and specialty steel. So while I consider this to be a top tier one, it is not the end all be all. There are flavor companies out there that are way, way better than this one. But as a basic company, if you don't have access to those flavor companies that give you a huge amount of extra buildings, like some of them, I think they give you tools and coal, and then there's one with that's tools and lead. But if you don't have access to those ones, or even like the Skoda Works, which I think like in Austria, which gives you, I think, prestige tools as well as a huge bonus to artillery, you're probably going to want to take basic Metalworks. And yeah, it is kind of a must pick in most cases. Even if you just leave it as a base one building company, the prestige goods do make up for it. The manufacturing bonus makes up for it. You don't just get precision tools. You get a 5% manufacturing industry throughput bonus to all of your manufactories from just wild. Like, everything about this company is just wonderful. If you want to beef up your companies, this is the best way to do it. Just from the precision tools and the manufacturing bonus, everything about it is just golden, and I cannot recommend this company enough. Again, you don't have to delete your metal mining. You could literally just leave this as a one building company, and you'll still get all of these bonuses to go along with it, and it's still worth having at that point. It won't be a 1.5 million profitability company. It'll be like 500,000 by the end game, but it'll still be good enough just from this bonus alone and the precision tools alone. But again, you could always just delete your metal mining and then take iron here and then make up coal and lead through two other companies at that point, and you can spread it around and get all your prestige goods at that point. Get the home goods with lead, get the steel company with coal, and then get this one with iron, and you got, you know, your metal mining completely covered, and you got all the prestige goods. Yeah, this is a meta pick. There's no question in my mind. This one is super duper 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 good, and I try to take it in every game. So because of that fact, I gotta give this an S tier. This is a meta. Alright, well, I guess the last ones weren't all that controversial, so I think it's about time I started becoming controversial again, just to get people riled up. I am a hater of this company. I'm a hater. I'm a absolute 100% hater. I consider this to be F tier personally. I don't think I've ever taken this company willfully. I might have taken it once or twice just to test out the productivity of it. And what I found is every single time I took the mineral company, I had issues with overlap. I would end up having other companies which could have made use of coal as a secondary, just by taking it with the company charter. I couldn't because I already had it with the mineral company, and what do you get that the mineral company doesn't provide? Or what do you get from the mineral company that other companies don't provide? That's pretty much just sulfur. That's the only benefit to the mineral company. I can't see any other benefits to the mineral company. There's too much overlap with coal. There's too much overlap with iron. You're going to get it in way better companies than you can with the mineral company. And 10% fertilizer plant throughput bonus, like what the hell is that? That's bad. That's pure garbage. Why would you take the 10% fertilizer bonus when you could go for one that gives you the Metalworks, where you get a plus 5% manufacturing bonus, which is already half of this throughput bonus right here, then and there, because that's a manufacturing too. So, what is the value of this one? It's sulfur. Sulfur is probably I think it actually is the most valuable, profitable mine in the game. The only problem is you're not going to do a whole heck of a lot of it. There isn't a huge amount of demand for sulfur in the game. It's not one of the industries that you're screaming for at the end of the game when you're at 20,000 construction. It's just not as demanded. So what are the benefits of this company? There really aren't any. You can get sulfur in the fertilizer company, the chemical company, and already I gave that one a really bad rating. So there's no value to mineral. There's nothing. I can't give this a good rating. I've gone over this like 20 times, and I tried to say to myself, well, everybody else loves this company. I can't give it a good rating. This one is bad. This one is very, very bad. Why? Just if you like this company, why? I don't get it. Personally, the coal mines included in it, it's bad, because you can get coal mines in so many other companies, even with even if it's just adding as a charger. Why wouldn't you just take the steel company and then put coal as a secondary from the charter company? So maybe it's good if you don't have the DLC to allow you to put the charter companies in. I think that's a thing, but even then, it's just not good. I guess the only way that I could even consider this a good company is if you're in like base game Victoria 3 and you're just absolutely desperate for coal somehow. I think because a lot of coal is usually added after the fact as a secondary from charter companies, the company charters. So maybe this is DLC based. Maybe it's because I got DLC on the brain, because I don't play without the DLC. I'm sorry, guys. If you're watching my guides, you're watching my tier list, you have to have all the DLC, because I'm not going to the base game and then redoing everything just based off of people having the DLC or not. So maybe this is a C tier if you really, really, really need coal and you don't have DLC. It would be a weak situational tier at that point. But I mean, here's the thing. That's only because it has coal as a base and not as a secondary. That's a very weak situational pick, because I mean, even then, coal is not a must-have building. It's a very profitable building, mind you, but it's not a must-have building, because I would consider iron to be more of a must-have building, especially in the end game. I mean, you are screaming for coal too, and you will want the bonuses from coal, but there's just so many other buildings that you're going to want. There's so many other companies that you're going to want that you could actually sacrifice coal and not really suffer for it. But if you have the DLC, I mean, this is just a bad company, and frankly, I think it belongs in the F tier, and I just can't understand how people can think it's better than F tier. This one I don't even look at twice. I scoff at it. I go, why would I ever pick that? finally, we're talking about an endgame company. Here is a company that I will probably pick last. Maybe second last. Yeah, we're talking about the motor company. I actually really, really love this company. This company always does right by me. I love how profitable this company becomes at the end game. This is like just endless growth at the end game because you're always going to have automobiles being built. You're always going to have motors being built. And if you have enough resources, if you've got like say basic metal mining, or if you have like the whole construction wombo combo done, and you have all the throughput bonuses on those basic metals, yeah, you're pretty much going to be building this endlessly. It just so much money involved here. I think this is the company I managed to get to something ridiculously like 10 million on profitability, just because of how powerful these bonuses are. And the throughput bonuses are amazing. The company construction bonuses are amazing because you're always going to be building this stuff at the end game. You're always going to have more motors to be built. There's just a never-ending cycle of need for these two companies. So that really makes this a fan-flipping-tastic company. The only reason I don't consider it meta is because technically there are other super profitable companies out there that you could build in the end game too. So it's really just it's a fielder's choice. It's do you want to get the guy out on first? Do you want to get the guy out on third? And it mostly based off of what you think you need for your country. So this actually comes out a little more situational. If you're a hyper-industrialized country like, say, Germany, you got your Super Germany built, and you got 20,000 construction, and you're just begging for things to build, so you do everything in your power to make as many demand for motors as possible, and as much demand for automobiles as possible, then this is a must-pick. But if you're not at 20,000 construction, if you say only at 5,000 construction, you're hyper-industrialized, mind you, but you're not begging for things to build, then maybe this isn't quite as important or profitable for you. So you could probably take a different late game, maybe a better flavored one that gives you more innovation so you can catch up in tech, or maybe you can get a beeline on tech and then you can get like amazing military technology so you can do like late game conquest to make up for any shortfalls that you have. So yeah, this one does come off just a little bit more situational than maybe people would agree with, but in my view, there are conditions for this to be super duper useful. Typically, I will reach the 5,000 to 10,000 mark in construction regardless of what I do, but if I end up hyper industrializing and I'm past the 10,000 mark, this becomes a must pick for me because guess what? These two things are the ones you're going to be building the most. Beyond like power plants, beyond, yeah, it's going to be automobiles and it's going to be motors. So again, it might be situational, but it's definitely strong. I'm going to say this is a B tier just because it's such a strong situational pick. I kind of want to put it in A tier. The only reason I don't put it in A tier is, again, it's somewhat situational. It's not something you're going to pick every single time because, again, there are other picks out there that you could do to do effectively the same work as this, especially if you were playing like a country like Brazil and you're instead of hyper-industrializing, you're just kind of making a bazillion livestock ranches. Say you conquer Argentina and Chile and Bolivia and you just got a million livestock ranches. You're not really worried about hyper-industrializing at that point. You're just building more of what is already making you a boatload of money. So this is a good late-game money maker for countries that don't already have a late-game money maker. So, again, situational. Okay, moving on. We are now on munitions. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I do not like military goods as a profit maker. When it comes to profit, the last thing on my mind is military goods because, unfortunately, to make military goods profitable, you have to be in forever war. And if you're not in forever war, you're going to have massive spikes and massive dips in profitability. When you start a war, all of a sudden the value of all of your military goods just skyrockets, and you're just making oodles upon oodles of money. And then the war ends, and then all of a sudden your money's gone, and now you're losing bajillions, and you're just scrambling at that point. Whenever it comes, it's a boom or bust. It's a bubble. When I look at military goods, I see bubble, and I hate bubble. There are so many other late game industries out there that can be hyper profitable without the need of war. Why would I want anything to do with war unless I get a major bonus from it? Why would I want war unless I get like a plus 10% to artillery or plus 10% to offense? Or that's the only time I would ever take like a war-based industry, is if it gave me massive bonuses when prosperous. Or if it gave you a prestige good that actually made you a lot more deadly. And unfortunately, what we've discovered is that prestige goods become less and less useful as you become more and more technologically advanced. And the reason why is because let me bring up an army here, okay? Say you're a regular infantry, you're not using any goods, so you don't get any bonus there. But the moment you get to line infantry, you're using one small arms output. So if you're using a prestige good like the Colt, like USA's Colt, you're gonna get 20% offensive bonus from line infantry. But here's the thing, once you get up to skirmish, now you have another input in there, so it's 66% of 20% now. And then you go up again, up to trench infantry. Now it's now you got 3 small arms for your Colt, and now you got 20 that are 2 ammunition, so it's instead of 66%, now it's what, 60%? And then you go up to squad infantry, and oh my god, it gets even worse. Now it's 3 out of 7, so oh goodness, that's even worse. And then you get all the way up to mechanized, and oh my goodness, now it's 3 out of what, 6? It's 3 out of 9, 33% of 20% at that point. So as you get more technological, the prestige goods from weapons companies gets worse. That's horrible. That makes this right here pretty bad. In fact, it doesn't even help with what I was talking about. Like the high grade explosives. Yeah, it's nice to get a little bit of throughput bonus on when you use dynamite on coal mines, iron mines, and all that other stuff. But it's not enough to make up for the fact that everything else here is just bad. Okay? You're not making a huge amount of money off your explosive factories, okay? And the only way you're making money off your munitions plants is if you're in forever war. There are better ways to get sulfur. It's just, there's so many other... Just take the chemicals plant if you're desperate for sulfur. Like, chemicals is bad, but it's not munitions bad. Munitions is terrible bad. And there's no benefit to it. I mean, the only real benefit is probably the prosperity bonus, which is -% military goods cost, but it just, doesn't that seem like counterproductive too? I don't know, man. Everything about this company just screams at me as worthless, and it's not as bad as Electric's plants, but yeah, this is F tier, man. I don't ever see a usefulness for the munitions plant, and the company is just bad. Okay, after effectively crapping over a company that people seem to love, let's go to a company that people seem to hate for some reason, and then show a little bit of love to it. I don't understand why people don't like the oil company. Okay, oil is one of the hardest, goods to get, and it's very, very high demand. Like, I've actually gone out of my way to conquer Baku, which is really hard to get to, specifically to get to its oil. I will go out of my way to take Texas and California for the oil. Like, oil is super duper in demand in the late game, and you're always going to be screaming for more of it. So Why wouldn't you want a company throughput bonus on it? Why wouldn't you want the excess on it? And on top of that, if you didn't take the steel corporation, say you got one of the flavor companies that gave you steel, and it doesn't give you coal as its secondary, well, here's the thing. Oil gives you a coal as a secondary. Problem is, that's more of a late game thing, so the coal is, I mean, you're going to get a lot of use out of it in the end game, but you kind of want coal to be done earlier on, so that is definitely a detriment to this, mostly because you're not going to take this until pretty much the end game. This will be maybe your last pick. As for its prosperity bonus, I love this prosperity bonus. Migration attraction, when you wombo combo it together, we're talking about an endless swarm of migrations, and couple that with birth rate bonus, you're talking gigantic growth. You go from 30 million to 100 million in 50 years. Like, that's how much we're talking about when you couple it with birth rate growth and just mass migrations. If you go for this one, though, you go for this 10% migration attraction, make sure to go for freedom of movement, get level 3 on that, get the extra 20% bonus from the from government admin and art installations, and you get the bonus from the freedom of movement as well. It's a wombo combo, so you're really only gonna take this and make use of this bonus for the wombo combo. You could also just take this specifically for the one building and the oil rigs, even if you already got your coal mines covered. But it is a little on the weaker side because of that fact, and everything doesn't really synergize as well as, say, other companies do. So when I look at this company, yeah, I can see a lot of use for it, but at the same time, it's extremely limited and extremely situational. And because it doesn't have a proper synergy altogether, I can't give it an amazing rating. This is going to end up in the C tier. It is situational, and it is not super strong. It is strong in the right hands. If you wombo combo everything together, yeah, it can be really, really good. But that takes a lot of effort on your part to make it good. Is it good by itself, even situationally? Probably not. Oil rigs are very profitable, but there just isn't a whole heap of them out there. You're going to be limited by the number of oil rigs out there. And again, coal mines can be gotten in an entirely different, company in 100 different ways. So the synergy is a little broken here. It kind of needs a buff to really be super duper useful. Right now, in its current state, it's good, but not good at the same time. I call this a weak situational pick. It's not super weak. At least it has some use in certain situations, but it is unfortunately weak. Alright, here comes one that I was waiting to do. This one is probably going to get me yelled at, just like the food bonus back when I did the top 5 listing back for 1.8. I got yelled at a lot for putting food as number 2. Well, here's one that's going to get me yelled at right now, and I'm willing to bet I'm going to be saying "I told you so" later down the line to the people who yell at me for this one. Because guess what? Paper is a meta pick now. This used to be D tier before 1. I think it was at 1.95 or 1.96 that they added craft paper as a prestige good. The only reason, well, I guess not the only reason, because obviously you can still get logging camps as a secondary if you take paper, and if you don't go for forestry, you're probably going to need to make up for your logging somehow. So this is a great way to do that, believe it or not, because you're going to want this company. And why do I say you're going to want this company? Well, this is one of the only companies out there that gives you an immediate innovation bonus. You get a 20% standard bonus on every single building that uses this prestige good of craft paper. Guess what? You get a bureaucracy bonus. Great. And you get a university bonus. Huge. It's a 20% university bonus and a 20% government admin bonus, because all they use is paper. Okay? So if you can get them using all your craft paper at that point, you're getting a 20% innovation throughput bonus. That is huge. There are very few companies out there that can do that. In fact, I think there's only 2 companies that even come close, and they're both flavored companies. So if you can't get those flavor companies, the only way you're going to get an innovation bonus that big is through the paper company. And this company is huge. When you're tech rushing, probably by the 3rd pick for your company, you're probably going to want to take this as your 3rd pick. Not only that, you get a huge bureaucracy bonus from throughput, and you get an additional 10% bureaucracy bonus, which means overall you're building less government admins. That hurts your synergy. It hurts your profitability with the amount of paper mills out here, but paper is always, always, always in demand in the world market. So even if you're not using a huge amount of paper up front, you're still going to be trading, especially when you get that lovely plus 100 trade advantage. The only downside to the paper company is how difficult it can be to become top 3 for paper. You're going to actually have to put a little bit of effort in to become top 3 for paper. But once you get that prestige bonus going, oh my goodness, you are living life large, because those bonuses are huge. Everything about it synergizes together, excluding the lack of government admin. But you know what? If you're super duper rich, people have actually asked me, why do you end your game with a ridiculous amount of government admin now? You see, ever since they added craft paper, I deliberately have 20,000 bureaucracy at the end of the game. Why? Because I deliberately overbuild government admin now just so I can use up more paper to get top 3 for craft paper, and somehow it lasts me until the end of the game. I don't build anymore after I get craft paper. Once I get my craft paper, that's it. I'm done. I stop overbuilding on government admin, but generally it's in the mid game when you need the government admin in the first place. You're not really going to be building it in the late game. And I mean, you could if you're trying to keep up with, like, say, taxation issues at the end, but again, it's in the mid game when you're doing most of your government admin building, and that's when you generally get the paper corporation. So again, it synergizes together, and it leads to the perfect wombo combo. I know it's only 2 buildings at best, but it's a great 2 buildings, because again, if you're not taking forestry, and in a lot of cases you're probably going to be deleting your forestry later on anyways. The only time you're really going to keep your forestry is if you got a huge amount of colonial holdings that have a lot of rubber. And I mean, infrastructure is not a problem in the mid game. It just isn't. I rarely run into infrastructure problems anymore. It used to be a heck of a lot worse, but I mean, ports just make up for it. Yeah, you only get 3 infrastructure from ports, but you're building so many ports to make up for it that it just kind of balances itself out. And yeah, forestry used to be super S tier, now I consider it A tier, and in turn, paper went from D tier. Like, I used to hate this company. I used to think, oh, all you get is 10% bureaucracy. And well, no, now it's kind of like 30% bureaucracy and 20% innovation. And oh my god, that is huge. So here's the thing. Paper is S tier. It is mecha S tier. It is almost as good as the food company. And I'm sorry if you disagree with it, but I'm willing to bet other people are going to catch on to the value of this company very shortly. This is a sleeper hit right now, just like food was in 1.8. How many people yelled at me about food in 1.8, and then all of a sudden food is considered S tier, and food is taken in every single multiplayer game? Well, paper might be taken in every single multiplayer game once people realize just how much innovation you actually do get from craft paper. People are going to be fighting over paper in top 3 in multiplayer. That's how good this company is. It's going to be wild to see, and I look forward to it. Alright, here we go. From one of the best to quite possibly one of the worst, maybe even the worst company in the game. What a joke this company is. The Shipyard Company. My goodness. The only saving grace, the only reason I'm going to consider this slightly better than Electrics is the access to logging camps. But again, there's so many other ways to get your logging camps bonus. Why the hell would you ever take this company? This is poo. This is bad. This is garbage. Dog water. This is just nasty. What do you get from the Shipyard Company? You get Shipyards, Military shipyards. Who cares? Neither of these are profit makers. Neither of these you're probably even thinking about at any point in the game. You're only ever really going to think about these is when you actually run into a shortage in either clippers or steamers, or in man o' wars, or, you know, ironclads. And that's the only time you're ever really thinking about these companies. And generally you're just kind of ignoring these companies. They have no value beyond that. They fulfill a minor need, and once you're no longer in shortage, you're not even giving a crap afterwards. And then there's the bonus 5% Navy. Really? That's it? You're gonna take this company and the best you can give me is 5% Navy? Navy? How many naval battles are you gonna have on average? Maybe 20 throughout the entire game, from beginning to end, 1836 to 1936. You might get in 20 naval battles. What a joke. What an absolute... You're not even guaranteed anything. It's a 5% Navy offense bonus. So a lot of your Navy battles are going to be defensive anyways. In fact, it's rare to see a naval offensive battle for some reason. And it's random. So you don't even get to choose which one it is. It should have been plus 10% naval offense and defense. And even then, that wouldn't fix this garbage tier of a company. This is just bad. Here's the thing. You will also get shipyards for free if you take the Suez Canal or Panama Canal. So, I mean, you're probably going to take those companies anyways for the huge prosperity bonus. You're going to be fighting for those companies. You're going to want them, right? You get the prosperity bonus on there, and you get +1 companies from it. You get 50,000 money for free. That's great. And then shipyards is just like, whatever. I don't care. It's nice to have. Whatever. You're not thinking about it. So that makes this even worse. So, what do you get? You get military shipyards and maybe logging camps if you haven't already gotten it? No, you should never take this company. This company shouldn't even be looked at. This company shouldn't even be in the game at this point. They should remove it, or they should buff it. If I were to take this company and I were to buff it, I would make it like an ironclad company, okay? I would just have it as military shipyards. I wouldn't even have shipyards on here. I wouldn't have logging camps on here. Instead, I would have it as military shipyards. I would have iron, I would have lead, and I would have coal. And I would give as many of those buildings as humanly possible, and so that people could take it as an alternative to taking metal mining. And then I would give it a way better bonus on Navy. I would, instead of a 5% Navy offense, it should be 10% Navy offense and Navy defense. Okay? Because you don't really get a choice in offensive or defensive. It's just random, pretty much. It boggles the mind why they would even put this in as a bonus. This is a joke. And yeah, this is not a company you should ever take. Let me just bring that up real quick. Click, and shipyards. This is an F tier. This is F tier among F tiers. This is ultra F tier. Don't ever pick this company. Okay, silk and dye. Here we go. This one is an interesting company. It does have some use. I just can't see a whole heck of a lot of use out there for it. Especially when, unlike the flavored companies, it doesn't give you a prestige good, which doesn't make any sense to me. This company should be better, but it's not. Maybe it's because of the 10% influence that you give, which really is okay, but it's not, like, must-have okay. It's just kind of a decent little bonus to it. Unfortunately, the buildings that you get are kind of iffy. You're not going to be building a huge amount of silk. Even if you play as Ching, you're not going to be building a huge amount of silk. And you're not going to be building a huge amount of dye plantations either. They're not really hyper money makers out there. There are way better money makers for the colonial goods out there. The real draw to this building, this company, is access to textile mills. If you don't bother with like taking like the textile company or the rather amazing fabrics company, I guess you could make up for it by going for this one, and then you get silk on top of that. But if you're gonna bother with silk and textiles, just take one of the myriad, and there's a lot of flavor companies out there that cover both silk and textiles, which means that this one just gets completely overshadowed. It does have some use, But again, why would you pick this when it doesn't even have a prestige good? It should 100% have a prestige good. This might actually be an oversight. They might have intended for this to have a prestige good to cover silk for countries out there who don't get access to the flavor silk. Unfortunately, this one does not get a prestige good, and it should. I mean it. This company suffers because it doesn't have a prestige good. If it had prestige silk, or if it had prestige textiles, or even if you put like a cotton into the building and then you gave it a prestige cotton, you would probably turn this from what I consider to be weak to at least situationally weak. I could see use for it situationally, but in the current iteration of this company, I can't recommend it to anybody. It does have some use, but it pales in comparison to other companies out there that effectively just do the same thing, just better. So here's the thing. This gets D tier. I'm sorry, this one just kind of belongs in D tier. It doesn't have the strength. It doesn't have the profitability. It doesn't have a prestige good. The only thing that it really has going for it is that it does silk and textiles at the same time. But again, there are so many flavor companies out there who do that already. And a lot of them are relatively easy to get. I mean, shoot, you could get one just by conquering Kansai in Japan, I think. And there's a couple that are in South America too. So again, what's the point of this company at this point? That it's weak. That's all there is. And here we go to the King of Kings, one of the most overpicked companies in the game. This probably makes it to the S tier in every single person's tier list, specifically because of how universally good it is. That is the Steel Company, the basic Steel Company. I remember before saying that, oh, well, maybe Munitions can be good because I think it gives you access to coal, but no. You know what? If you're not taking the Steel Company and you're not adding Coal Mine as your secondary, you're doing it wrong. I mean, the Steel Company, the only reason you should never take Steel Company as your meta pick is if you have access to a better flavored version out there. Okay? That's the only reason. Because refined steel is amazing. It's amazing. It's better than precision tools. Refined steel is just top tier. And here's the catch: if you're really quick about it, if you're really good in the early game, you get your maybe you take this as your second pick or even your first pick instead of going for the food company. Yeah, you can actually get refined steel relatively easily. It isn't until the mid game when steel becomes like hyper produced by all the other countries in the game, and then you have to compete to get top 3 to get your refined steel. I've really not had a huge amount of difficulty even taking this as my third pick. Generally, I'll take it as a second or third, sometimes fourth, if I got like another company I want to take as my third pick. But again, everything about this company just synergizes well. It mixes well with other companies. You won't have a huge amount of overlap, except obviously steel, because there are better flavored companies out there, I think, that do a way better job of coverage. And if you end up taking the steel producers, you're going to need 3 companies overall to cover your entire cycle for construction. Whereas you could probably do 2 if you went for metal mining and the construction building, or the construction company, or you could go for like Dairuka Campania in like Spain, Asturias, or even like Navarra's steel company. There are so many steel companies out there in this game that, yeah, this one can get overshadowed at times, but even then, a lot of those companies don't give you this. 5% state construction efficiency is god tier. This might be the second best bonus in the game. Almost as good as the birth rate bonus, okay? It might actually be better than the birth rate bonus depending on your situation. So when I call this a meta pick, I really mean it. There's a reason why it's in everybody's S tier for every single tier list that you've ever seen. And if they don't put it in the S tier, chances are they don't know the benefits of this company. This company is pretty much universally profitable. I don't think I've ever seen this one under 500,000 at the end of the game. I've seen it as high as like 5 million in some of my games, especially once I do the construction cycle of like 30,000 construction. And refined steel is a godsend. It is so good, universally good. We're talking throughput bonuses across the biggest, most important industries in the game, including a throughput bonus on your construction. So not only do you get state construction efficiency, this doubles up and gives you a throughput bonus on your construction zone. So yeah, it's not amazing, it's not super high, but it's still a throughput bonus. It's not a big one, but it's still a throughput bonus. So the synergy here is there, the usefulness is there, the profitability is there, the overlap is not too bad, but obviously you could replace it with some flavor companies that can do the job a little bit better. But again, for a basic company, you can't go wrong with this one. This one deserves all the flowers that it's been getting. It's deserving of all the love that it gets. This is top tier. This is not god tier, but it definitely deserves to be in people's top 3. It definitely belongs up there. So we're going to move that up to S tier. It belongs there. It just truly, universally belongs in S tier. Alright, so we're about to talk about a company that people seem to really love for some reason that I'm not bullish on. And the reason why I'm not bullish on it is because, unfortunately, Textile Company is very easily made redundant. And by redundant, I mean there are so many other ways for you to get your textile mills in. And as much as it's nice to get the silk plantations or even the cotton plantations in, again, there's other ways of doing it, and there are better companies. That's all there is to say about it. I mean, it's nice to get the designer clothing. It's a good prestige, but I mean, oh, there you go. I don't even have to look very far. I just scrolled up on the British list, and I just found 3 companies. Each one is a flavor company that does the job better. It just does it better. And like Montero Seta is way better. Not only do you automatically get silk added as well, you can add cotton plantations in there, and you get Como silk as a bonus, which makes them a heck of a lot more profitable and better throughput bonus. And oh, it's just so good. And then there's this one with a great authority bonus, which very hard to get. And on top of that, it also, like Montero Seta, it actually covers all 3 buildings instead of just 2. So, oh, there's another one, JP Coats right there. Yeah, you get the designer clothing, but on top of that, you get the throughput bonuses, makes them a heck of a lot easier for you to build out. I don't particularly like this company, but it's pretty much on par with the Textile Mill company, and I don't know. I don't know why people are super bullish on this one. It's nice to have. As far as textile mills go, it's not an imperative. It's not something that you absolutely must fill out. If you were gonna, make use of the if you were gonna make use of the throughput bonus and the construction bonus on it, you could always just take it super early and then delete the company later down the line after you got all your clothing, all your textile mills built. But keeping it until the late game, I just don't see the value of it. It is profitable, make no doubt, but there are lots of profitable companies out there, and as far as I can tell, this one is very situational, ultra situational, because again, there are better textile companies out there, and there's so many of them. I don't get it. There's like a bajillion textile companies out there, and they all do the job better. So this one is like, if you're a small country, you're playing super duper tall, and you've run out of companies to build, and you really need a profitable company stat, then yeah, this company is good to have. That's the value I can find for this company. Okay? So yeah, I'll give it situational. I won't crap on it completely. I'll say that it has some value, but it is a weak situational. It is hyper weak. I can think of 10 other companies I'd rather have that also cover textile mills than just the basic textile company. I just can't love it. Even the throughput bonus just isn't that. Even the prestige bonus is just not that great. It's just not. Nothing about it just really screams synergy to me. Nothing about it just screams perfect. You absolutely have to get it. It's just nice to have. Okay, here we go with wine and fruit. Whew. No. Just no. No. Okay, so here's the thing. There's only maybe one country with a culture that actually cares about wine. One country. That would be France. The populations of France are very bullish on wine. They have an obsession for it. The rest of the world doesn't give a crap. They don't. The amount of demand for wine is pitiful. And there are so many other drinks out there that have better demand that wine probably is the worst of them all. It just is. It's not God tier. It's not great tier. It's not good tier. It's meh at best. I won't say it's god awful because there are some situations where it can be useful, but unfortunately, vineyards are not something I consider to be valuable. So when it comes to the champagne, the Confederation Generale de Vineyards, yeah, I don't care. I hate vineyards. I don't like them. They're not good. I don't consider them good. They're not even that profitable at the end of the day. There's so many other buildings out there that you could probably be putting your effort into to becoming profitable. Like playing Brazil and then having coffee is actually better than champagne. Okay, champagne is the only competition for the prestige coffee, and I think the coffee beats it out every single time. I'm not bullish on vineyards, and you probably noticed that I'm not. So, yeah, when it comes to the fruit and wine company, fruit is kind of nice, I'm not going to lie, but you can get that through agriculture. Why would you want to hear? It's just, blah. There's so many better ways to go for it. And same with sugar. Like, sugar isn't even that profitable. You can get it through agriculture, so what is the purpose of this company? You don't even get a prestige good from this company. You get 10% prestige. If you're desperate for prestige that much, just build a billion navies, okay? Go make a better company that is actually profitable, and then use the money to make navies. And then you'll be way better off than 10% prestige on whatever the hell you have, because this is not a good company. And the synergy here is just terrible. There's nothing to it. This company has nothing going for it, except for maybe the vineyards. And again, if you're playing France, which I think is the only country that can actually make use of vineyards, just go for this one, okay? You get better prestige, you get a vineyard bonus building throughput, and you get champagne as a prestige good, and so you lose fruit. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. Like, not even worth it. You could probably not even go to the food company, although I'd definitely go to the food company and just stick with that, and then keep this vineyard as, you know, the one building for this stupid company. But I don't like vineyards, period. I rarely build them. I never go out of my way to build vineyards. I don't consider them all particularly profitable. They can be profitable in the right hands, and if you're trading to the right country, which is France. It's just France. Only France. There's no demand anywhere else. It's just France. When you were playing at 1.8, whenever you were trading your stupid wine, where would you trade your wine? You traded it to France every single time. And they were the only country that it was really profitable from. Maybe Austria occasionally, maybe Spain once in a while. No, it was France. Just always France. And it's still always France. And if you end up becoming an enemy of France and you get embargoed by them, then all of a sudden your stupid, fruit and wine company is just bonked. There's no value to it at that point, and oof, what a bad company. This is a bad company. This deserves F tier. I can't give it any love. This deserves 0 love. It deserves all the hate. This needs to be boosted. This company badly needs to be boosted. If I were to improve this company, I would take sugar, I would make it a baseline with the fruit, and on top of this, I would probably add something extra to it, like lead. Believe it or not, put lead in there. Remember the joke about putting arsenic and sweetening the wine? Yeah, put lead in there. Like, back then, they didn't know that lead was dangerous, did they? So there you go, put lead in there. That'd be a funny little addition to give you an alternative to grab lead. And on top of that, this needs a prestige bonus. This needs a prestige good. Badly. Like, just painfully badly. Why? I mean, You can have champagne here, but why can't I have sparkling wine here? Okay, Californian wine. Give me, give me something, because otherwise this company is never going to be picked. And if it's picked, it's getting laughed at. People are going to laugh at you for picking this one. We are finally on the last basic company, the weapons company. Well, I mean, you already know that my love for weapons companies isn't there. I do not like these companies. Back when you used to get precision tools from weapon companies, it was pretty nice, but now you get, you get high-powered small arms, and again, it has a reduction in value as your tech goes up. So it's really nice to have high-powered small arms when you're doing line infantry, and I guess maybe skirmish infantry, but once you get to trench infantry, it becomes kind of worthless, like an 8% bonus at that point, and it just doesn't have as much value as it should have. When it comes to profitability, it's non-existent. You have to be in a forever war to maintain any profitability. Otherwise, you're going to have spikes in your company profitability, and it'll go from super profitable during war to non-existent outside of war. And what an insult it can be, and it's not fun. Trading is a bit of a pain. You can definitely make a lot of money trading, but why would you go for high-powered small arms? Why wouldn't you just go for like a flavor company at that point? Like, go for Colt if you're the United States, or go for Skoda if you're like Austria or something like that. Again, weapon industries can be very useful, especially the flavored ones. The basic one is as basic as it gets, and I just don't like it. The 5% army offense is a little nice, but it's not worth picking. It just isn't. It's not worth giving up a profitable company for, and there's nothing truly useful to it. I mean, you could take automotive industries for the late game, and then all of a sudden you become super duper profitable, but why don't you just take the motor industries instead of this one? I mean, then you get motors on top of it. Like I said, there's no true value to artillery and arms. You're not going to be making a huge amount of money off of this one, unless you're in Forever War, and who wants to do that? That's a horrible way to play the game, to be honest. It's not a fun way to go. So, unfortunately, I can see some use for this. If you really want to stack your bonuses and you don't have access to a flavor company that does it way, way better, and there are a lot of flavor companies out there that do it way, way better with a lot better prestige goods than this one, I guess it's somewhat useful. I'm going to give this one situational. I'm not going to call it bad. I'm not going to call it weak. I'm going to call it weak situational, because it does have some situational use to it. I can see some use for it. I wouldn't go out of my way to make it. Not anymore. Maybe a 1.8 when there wasn't a huge amount of bonuses out there for offense. I would have gone out of my way to take it. I would have maybe even called it a B tier or even an A tier at that point. But in 1.9, there are so many flavored companies out there that give you better versions of the 5% offense. There's just so many better out there. And yeah, it loses its power over time, especially with the prestige good. And that's the same with every military company out there, though. And that's kind of why I kind of poo-poo all of the military companies out there. They lose effectiveness as you go along. And you're never going to be able to build enough army to make these super duper profitable, even when you're in a forever war. So why not just take a super profitable company and then use the extra money to build even more armies than you would have otherwise? And that makes up for the 5% army offense issue. Okay? So yeah, I can't give this its flowers. I don't think it deserves its flowers. I think it deserves to be in C tier from here on. Alright, I reorganized them just a little bit so that they would be a little bit easier to read from a cursory glance for the people who are skipping directly to the end. I wanted to make it just a little bit easier for them, because I know it can get a little crowded, especially with the type of icons that I do, especially with the text and the way that it elongates over there. But I hope, and I really do hope, that this actually does help some people out there. I hope it helps them understand exactly why I think certain companies are worth picking and why I don't think some companies are worth picking. especially ones that people for some reason just happen to harp about all the time, specifically the mineral company, which is one that I just do not understand the value in. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's a spreadsheet out there that I just didn't read that is gonna completely blow me out of the water when it comes to my disdain for the mineral company. Maybe electrics are stronger than I think they are, and I'm just completely wrong on all the fronts, and all of the tests I've done on to the contrary are just wrong, and that like the recent patch just made them a million times better. Whatever the case, I think that the current settings that I have, the current stations that I have every one of these in, is pretty on the point. You can argue them in the comments if you'd like. Chances are I might even read them, and I might even make use of them. Of course, there are also going to be times when I'm going to be like, well, I'm sorry, I just disagree. And yeah, you'll notice something very specific about what I disagree with. Almost all of the companies that a lot of people really like that I don't like are companies that have industries that I don't find particularly useful, like sulfur. I don't find sulfur that... Yes, it's the most profitable mine in the game technically, but the amount of demand for it is almost negligible. You might as well just be saying that, oh, well, the gold industry is great because it's super profitable. That's what sulfur is to me. It's the same as gold. It just isn't very needed. It's not hyper demand. There's not a huge amount of mines out there for it. You're just going to run into a major cap very quickly if you go sulfur, which is why almost all of the sulfur heavy companies out there pretty much got a D tier or worse. And then there is weapon manufacturers out there, like the weapons buildings. I don't consider them profitable. I have a really hard time making them profitable, even with Forever War. And then there's that nasty dip after a Forever War is over, and that just makes them very unpalatable. And the only time I would ever take an army-based company is if I get such a big bonus, like the Langfang, or sorry, not the Langfang, the Qing artillery company that gives you like a huge bonus to your artillery, so it turns shrapnel artillery into siege artillery. That's worth taking temporarily until it's no longer useful, and then you can get rid of it and then get a better company after the fact. Yeah, that's when I would take my artillery company, or arms company. Or if you plan on being like a massive arms trader, I mean, like if you're playing the United States, you could go for the Colt company. You could probably make a heck of a lot of money just trading small arms to the entire world. But again, you could do that with pretty much any company. You don't have to do that with small arms. And there are higher demand goods out there than small arms. So that's why I don't put weapons companies very high on my list, and I don't think I ever will, because I just don't see the value in them. There are so many other things that you could be spending your company slot on, and they just don't get a big bullish rating from me. So again, disagree if you disagree. Make sure to comment though. Let me know, because what you say really does have impact on how I think. I always try to think over what you guys are stating and try to reason as to why what I say came out different than what you say. And so yeah, it's important that you say something. So don't just bottle it up and then vent it out later. Just let me know ahead of time. This company is better than what you think it is, and this company that you really, really love, like say the paper company here, isn't worth an S tier. I think it's worth an S tier because there's not a huge amount of the innovation bonuses out there. So you might not agree with that. You might not care about the innovation bonuses, but I love tech. Tech is super important to me in all of my games, which means the innovation bonus is extremely imperative for me. So yeah, that's why I love it more than what most people probably would. But I think it's a hidden sleeper, and it deserves a little bit of respect. Beyond that though, thank you for watching this far into the video. My goodness, this one's going to be obscenely long. I'm glad I didn't do a script on this one. If I had to do a script on this one, it'd probably take me 2 or 3 days just to record this. Instead, by doing it unscripted, off the cuff, like I normally do with my tier lists, I managed to get this out pretty relatively quickly. It's just, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope that if you didn't learn something, I just told you everything that you already knew. Well, I mean, why don't you give me ideas in the future, and then I can make better videos. Anyhow, guys, you guys are kings. I really do mean that. I appreciate all the support I've been getting lately. It's been a hectic few months. Hell, it's been a hectic year. Ever since I started doing this, it's been hectic. I don't think I've had a moment to really rest on my laurels once. So I really do hope that you enjoy the fruits of my labor. Thank you again, guys. Hail Hydra Cat.